After last video, I finally decided I'd rather have a game that was well made than a game that was solely by me. At the time, I tried to reach out to programmers, but when I made an ad, I got contacted by way too many people at once. When I finally settled on one, he immediately got pulled away to another project, and in waiting for him to become free again, I accidentally let half a year pass. The other day I said screw it, let's try this again, and I posted another ad. This time, I successfully hired a programmer to work alongside me, and unsurprisingly, he doubled my year of work in a couple days. There's a whole bunch of random changes to look at, so we'll do a grab bag. First of all, the screen has a different resolution and the camera has a different zoom. Because we're closer to the character, their movement speed is relatively much faster. I like the idea of a character that can move quickly and fluidly, but this is especially dangerous for screen transitions. You really don't have much time to react to a new room. I want players to be able to run full speed into a new map without worrying about rushing into an enemy or falling down a pit. Obviously, to some degree this can be solved by level design. I should never have pits immediately after running into a room, or maybe only deliberately if the player is likely to be rushing in and I want them to accidentally fall. But that wasn't enough for me, so I came up with a threefold solution. First, the player now runs slower. It still feels the same as before we blew up the resolution, because you're traveling about the same speed relative to the screen size. Second, there's a small dead zone between maps horizontally that's off camera. Obviously I'm not going to hide anything here, it's just so that when you run into the new screen, you're slightly further back than you were previously, and it takes you a little longer to emerge. Finally, now when you change maps, the screen pauses for a quarter second to show you the new map before the character runs in. It's a very small amount of time, but I think it's enough for the player to interpret whether they want to stop running or not. A very common complaint about Prince of Persia is that it sacrifices control for visual fluidity. My main solution is to make more freeform transitions between states, like rolling off of ledges or doing running jumps into a climb. But an easy way to add precision is that you can now stop the small step at any time. This allows extremely precise movements at the cost of being slower than running speed, and it's very nice for making positional micro adjustments. Additionally, in the original Prince of Persia, your only ways to make micro adjustments were a crouch, a jump, or a small step, and all three of them can only be done in the direction of facing. If you were too far forward, your only choice was to turn, step, and turn again. This is insanely awkward for such a simple task, and not at all how a human would move. So, we added back steps. Like forward steps, they can be stopped and started on any frame. Finally, here's a primitive gate and a primitive gate switch. Gates force the player to platform quickly, so I think they're an all but necessary gameplay inclusion. You can roll under this gate if you're running out of time. If you're underneath it as it closes, you're thrown back and you take damage. As for the button, I appreciate you can activate a gate without breaking momentum, but it really doesn't make much sense. This is going to take place in a fictional universe, and gates will probably be operated through magic. I might do wall panels that the player activates with their hand as they pass, or something like that. There are still other things I haven't shown yet, but I'm curious if any of you have suggestions based on what you've seen so far. Try to think of mechanics that would be very fun for a parkour-based platformer.